So many men are coming to Thailand, naively trying to find love here, and later on down the line, they realize that they were buying that love. Now today, we have a long story from a guy who gets involved in the bar scene and gets with a go-go girl, but then he decides to step away from the bar girls and actually get with a normal working Thai girl that works in a bank. What could possibly go wrong? Now, if you're one of those guys who comments down below in the videos saying stay away from the bar girls and you'll be absolutely fine, you are mistaken. It's not just the bar girls that are looking for a foreigner to help them financially and alleviate that financial burden that they've got on their shoulders, and their dreams for a better life can be found in a foreign man, you. So today's story is a very, very long story, and it's something that I think a lot of guys need to hear before they start and begin their Thailand journey with a woman that they are going to fall head over heels for. It happens all the time. If you think you're Johnny Bravo, Mr. Smooth here in Thailand, I guarantee you're going to come across a woman that blows your mind and makes you fall in love and makes you put your hand in your pocket until the money runs out. So without further delay, let's jump in to today's Thailand story. Hi Dan, I wanted to send you a story about two Thai women, one a go-go bar girl and one a normal Thai girl, along with some other funny encounters I experienced on my first 2-week trip to Thailand. To start, I would like to introduce myself. I am a 39-year-old single phalang from America. Now my mum would say I'm a catch, but I would say that I might quite possibly be above average, mostly due to a fitness journey that I have been on for the past 2 years. As a recovered fatty, I can attest to the mental benefits as well as making dating feasible in the West. I should also mention that I am a fairly well-off engineer, which might have played the largest role in my Thailand experience. I had been planning an international trip for quite some time. The intention was to go on the trip solo to finally let loose and unplug from the day-to-day. I'm not an awkward guy and I can spark up a conversation with anyone, and I figured I would break away from the mundane life I had been living for so many years in hopes to open my eyes to the world outside of the bubble that I created.
Good luck.
Now, before my trip, I spent countless hours watching content like yours, Dan, to prepare myself for the games to come. Those hours flew by as I found yours and other content creators. YouTube videos are very entertaining as well as very informative. To my surprise, the games played by these Thai girls didn't just happen often, but every time, like clockwork. Now, let's fast forward to December, and I had finally made the leap. My trip began with a week in Bangkok, followed by another week in Pattaya. I want to emphasize that at no point was I looking for a girlfriend. I planned to monger my way through the bar scene with a different girl every night. You can probably guess that it didn't go exactly as planned. Anyway, my first night in Bangkok got a little sidetracked. I ended up falling asleep in the hotel until 2 a.m. and I missed out on Nana, which I'm still kicking myself about. Instead, I decided to hit a couple of bars and clubs in the Sukhumvit area completely sober whilst the rest of the city was well on their way to a memorable night. My first stop was one of the Hillary bars to grab a beer. Very early in my arrival, a rather older lady swooped in for a lady drink. As this was my first encounter, I said, "Why not?" And I proceeded to have a drink with the lady. While not a huge mistake, I do regret buying her a drink, as she continued to follow me around for the next hour in hopes for more transactions. Unfortunately for me, I ended up being C-blocked by this lady when there were so many attractive young hotties ready to christen my holiday. The lesson learned here is to say no if you're not interested, as it may give these ladies the wrong idea. After I got out of there, I just walked up and down Sukhumvit for another drink or two without finding a suitable mate. Once back in the hotel, I took matters into my own hands. No, not what you're thinking. And I tried my luck with the infamous Thai Friendly. Link down below. Instead of taking my time, I quickly called a girl and she was on her way to my hotel. But she got there a little too quickly for my comfort. I was staying in a suite at a well-known hotel right in the Nana area, and her getting to my door in a matter of minutes led me to believe she was working on the corner. Now this made me uneasy, and I did not want to follow through with it. In addition to that, I saw something very strange about this woman. It was her feet. She was a woman in her 20s with the feet of a 70-year-old woman. They were much darker than the rest of her body and wrinkled like a nutsack. Maybe you or the subscribers can provide input. Is this normal, a ladyboy identifier, or an anomaly? Now, to get out of the situation, I made up an excuse that I needed to leave and help out a drunk friend. I paid her for the short time and got her, or him, the hell out of here. This concludes a bust of a first night in the land of smiles. On to the next day. Go-go time. Now you can use your imagination on how the next few nights went for an American who regularly spent 15 to 20,000 baht a night in a go-go bar. Anyway, after trying a few bars on Nana, I found a bar that stood out from the rest in terms of quality of women and staff. But then again, when you buy the server and mama-san as many drinks as the ladies, you tend to get the pseudo VIP treatment. I'm very aware of the optics here, as I never forgot that money is what brings the smiles in this type of atmosphere. In any case, after test driving a couple of girls on night 2 and 3, on the 4th night, the whale had arrived back to the familiar bar, receiving hugs from the mama-san and the servers. They made sure to have my regular booth available, and they quickly assisted me in getting me the company of my choosing. There was this one girl that caught my eye on a number of occasions during the drunken nights prior. We'll call her Sam. She's very cute, not like the typical Instagram look that the majority of these girls go for. The one thing that stood out about Sam was how much she was enjoying herself compared to the other girls in the bar. Sam is brought over and of course admits that she was hoping we got together for the obvious reasons, and we proceeded to drink and have a good time. It didn't take long before Sam started to say the typical lines to try and melt the Falang heart. All of the lines from, "You're different from the rest," "You're the only one who treats me with respect," and of course, "Handsome man." Now at this point, you just roll with it if you know how the game is played. After a few hours, Sam and I left for the bar next door, where her friend was working. What was special about Sam was how much more fun she was than just about every other girl in this bar as well. While drinking in the second bar, she is dancing on me like a wild animal. All of the other customers in the bar were staring at me with jealousy while they were paying the same price for their dead fish. The wild night continued and we made our way back to the hotel, and that's when the games came on pretty thick. Now, I'm not sure if this happens regularly, but Sam hits me with, "I love you," and "I want your babies." And that was before the room service was even delivered. I told her she doesn't love me and we barely know each other. Thinking back, I should have asked her to leave right then and there and just take the financial loss, but I did not. I continued the night and the bar girl lines just kept on coming. Apparently, her mum is sick and she hates working in the bar but is forced to do so to keep the family afloat. I didn't say this to Sam, but based on my observations of her in both of the GoGo bars, she absolutely loves working in the GoGo scene and was born for it. The night ended as you would expect, but to my surprise, the games ended that night. I suppose Sam took her shot and moved on fairly quickly for a girl who was allegedly in love with me a few hours earlier. Now, I want to reiterate that every encounter I had at this point included an attempt to extract a long-term sponsorship. This was expected to some extent, but I'm honestly a little disappointed that the games occur 100% of the time. As a follow-up, we exchanged line IDs and kept in touch for a week or two. I haven't blocked her, but also haven't responded to any of her messages for 2 months, yet she still messages me often. Now, after more of the same in Bangkok, I set out for Pattaya. I know it's pretty much the same environment, but something about Pattaya lit the spark again. To no one's surprise, the first couple of nights were eerily similar to Bangkok. At this point, I was experiencing some party fatigue as I was on the back end of a 7-day bender. I took a step back from the drinking as there was more to explore in Pattaya during the daytime. During this time, I had met a girl at a bank that hadn't materialized yet. More to come on that story, as this is girl number 2. In any case, the short break from the drinking was nice, but it didn't take long to jump back on the GoGo wagon. Just like in Bangkok, I found a bar that best fit what I was looking for. In this particular bar, I ended up becoming decent friends with the mama-san. As my spending habits haven't changed, I guess it's easy to make friends in a bar. I wanted to briefly talk about this story because I find it quite funny. While in the bar and sitting next to the mama-san, a girl whose company I enjoyed earlier that night for short time decides to join me for a drink. Out of nowhere, the girl whispers into my ear, "I love you." Shocking, I know. Unfortunately for this girl, the mama-san overheard and proceeded to yell at the girl in front of a crowded bar. She then followed up by kicking her out of my company and back on stage to dance with a big frown on her face. Now, advice to every man enjoying the fruits of a Thailand bar: it pays off to make friends with the staff. I admittedly went overboard with my generosity, but a drink or two for the bar authorities can go a long way. Back to the story. Though I enjoyed the show, I also suspected that the mama-san had something up her sleeve, but I didn't stick around Pattaya long enough to see it through. The mama-san had told me that she was just about to graduate from a business school and was planning on opening her own bar in the near future. Something tells me that she might have been looking for investors. In all honesty, if I was to ever open a bar in Pattaya, she might be the first person that I'd call. Now, moving on. This leads me to my last 4 days in Thailand, where I met a good girl with a normal job. Before I get into that, I want to provide the backstory as to how we met. While in Bangkok, I attempted to use an ATM machine near my hotel. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but I was having trouble retrieving the money. My first attempt indicated that the transaction was successful, but no money came out. My second attempt with a smaller amount was successful, but only provided 4,000 and not the 5,000 baht that was requested. Now, to my relief, the first attempt was reversed back into my bank in a matter of minutes, but I was still shortchanged on the second attempt. Now, on a side note, while struggling with the ATM, a ladyboy attempted to help me out and, of course, requested a tip. After this debacle, I decided to pursue different methods of retrieving money overseas. So, I met girl number 2 at the unsaid bank in Pattaya. We'll call her Patty. Now, I first saw Patty working behind the glass. She was very beautiful, all natural with no tattoos. I was second in line as she was helping another customer and seemed very sweet to the customer that did not speak Thai. Once it was my turn, she was equally sweet with me. As for our first meeting, that was that. I completed the transaction and I left. Now, a few days later, I needed to re-up on funds, so I made my way back to the same unsaid bank. Once there, Patty saw me in line and gave me a big smile and waved hello, even though she was working with another customer. The third time I needed more money, I made my way back to the unsaid bank, and this time I asked her to dinner, and she said yes. Now, at this point in my holiday, I did not care if the date led to
sexy time. Yeah.
In all honesty, I was spent and did not feel like mongering for at least one night. As for Patty, she appeared to be in her early 30s or late 20s, and my first thought was, maybe this will be different with a girl that may be more mature and in my age range. Anyway, the following night, we met at a nice hotel restaurant for dinner. I chose a hotel that I was not staying at to make sure I didn't give her the wrong impression. The dinner was nice, and I could tell that she didn't eat at classy places like this often. For example, we both ordered some nice fruity cocktails to start. Once she got comfortable, she then ordered a large beer and proceeded to drink me under the table. Red flag. Another indicator that she was new to luxury was that she wanted to come off classy and attempted to eat the French fries with a knife and fork. Green flag. The night went well from there and ended up back at my hotel room, per her request. I did recognise this red flag, as I understood that good Thai girls would not typically do this. Now, we moved forward with a fun nightcap, and I can say that the aerobics was much better than that of a bar girl. My thoughts were that she must really be into me when compared to the transactions that preceded the week before. What also crossed my mind was that Patty may have been a little too good in the sack to be this innocent, good Thai girl. Also, keep in mind that Patty knew how much money I was withdrawing in such a short duration of time. To continue, Patty and I spent the next few days together enjoying each other's company, which usually included luxury dinners and plenty of aerobics that were almost exclusively initiated by her. I should also note that on the day of my departure, I gave her my leftover cash, which was a reasonably large sum. Now, I am aware I could have exchanged it for US dollars, but I didn't. Quite possibly my first mistake, as I'm starting to realise this introduced money into the relationship before it had even begun. Things went great, and we decided to keep in touch when I returned home. Once back in America, we continued to video call 2 times a day. For the most part, the conversations were fun, flowing, and lasted for hours. But unfortunately, this was just in the beginning. At this point in the relationship, I was open to a long-term relationship if things progressed well. I also want to say that I made it clear to Patty that I think money corrupts relationships and that I would block her if money interfered. I acknowledged the hypocrisy as I had already crossed that line, and unfortunately, I did not follow through with my own words. Now, the first hiccup happened when I wanted to do something nice for her birthday. I bought her a $200 online gift card for a language learning app so that she could improve her English. At around that same time, she had just planned a trip to visit her family back home in Isan. Dum dum dum. Also, at around that same time, she had a new gold necklace and said that she paid for it herself for the first time and was very proud of that achievement. Of course, my spidey sense was tingling. The night before the Isan trip, we had a video call and she was very excited to go home. The call ended right before I turned in for the night. The next morning, I woke up to a bunch of messages and screenshots of her attempting to deposit the gift card into her bank account. I then called her to find out what the problem was. Apparently, the problem was me, and she blamed me for not having the funds to travel back home. Now, this phone call ended with me hanging up on her and going to work. She attempted to call me again, where she just stared at me, looking upset. In the next few hours before our next call, I was able to return the gift card for a full refund. Then, on our next call, Patty apologised for her behaviour and accepted that her vacation was cancelled. She was obviously very sad and didn't try to hide it. She also expressed that she didn't want to mention money to me because she thought I would block her, and that is why she was upset. At this point, it all checked out, so Mr. White Knight steps in and decides to send her the $200 to continue her holiday as planned. Now, I found out roughly a month after that she sold her necklace to also pay for the trip to Isan. When I found this out, I probed Patty with questions to find out why she needed $200 when she had just sold her necklace for about $400. Now, the only answer that I got was that she spent it all, $600, on her family. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. Now, Patty and I spoke quite a bit for the week or so while she was in Isan. All was good until the last day where she ran out of money. During this call, Patty doesn't ask me for any money, and this time I do not offer. Later that night, I get a long message from Patty breaking off the relationship. The message reads that I should find someone better and so on. I believe my response caught her off guard with just an okay. That is your decision, and I will respect your decision. Patty then tells me that she has decided she wants to go and work in a bar to make more money because she is frustrated with being broke. She says there is a customer from the unsaid bank that has offered her a job at his bar. So I explain to her that this man does not care about her and only wants to use her for her body. I tell her she will have to sleep with ogres and it will change her personality and her life forever. I reiterate that once she does this type of work, it will be hard for her to find a good man in the future, and at her age, 29, she will waste away her fertility years and will probably never have a family. She concludes the message with a bye, and I think it is over with her. Now, at this point, I am relieved because this conversation seemed like a modified version of the typical bar girl's threat to pay them a monthly salary or they will continue to work in the bar. I should have blocked Patty after this one, but I did not. And guess who calls me the next morning? Patty. Patty and I talked for quite a while about what was said in the messages from the night before. She apologises to me and wants to continue with the long-distance relationship while continuing to work at the bank. After all, she may have been thinking that I could provide a better lifestyle than what a bar girl can typically cultivate on her own. Before I agree, and I do eventually agree, I explained to her that the threat displayed last night was a common bar girl tactic used to manipulate foreign men. I tell her that I have no plans to become a sponsor and the relationship feels like it is going in that direction. At this point, I am getting fatigued by these games, and I tell Patty that I will block her if she fails to communicate with me. I tell her I do not plan on having any more angry calls. Now that being said, Patty says she is completely out of money and needs a small amount of money to get back to Pattaya. Now this is where things get tricky. I agree to send her the money and she quickly says thank you and abruptly ends the call. Now this really peed me off, so I messaged her that I am going to block her. In an instant, Patty calls me back to inquire about what happened. She insisted that it was a mistake and she did not mean to come off disrespectful. I store this incident away in the old noggin, which is starting to fill up with red flags. Now it's water under the bridge for now, and I still help out Patty and continue with the relationship. Over the course of a month, Patty and I continue the way we had earlier on. During our conversations, topics of our pasts and past relationships came up. As beautiful as Patty is, she claims she hasn't had a man for 4 years since graduating from university. She said that she gets approached often, but always rejects men. Of course, I'm skeptical, as she can't be the only beautiful Thai girl in Pattaya not getting laid. I honestly do not believe her, but I haven't exactly been straightforward with her about my escapades from my previous Thailand holiday. Now I can move on from this, as we are both adults and expect that she's had casual relationships, same as me. Now, what does hold me up, and I've expressed this to her, is if she's ever worked in a bar. From the conversation we had when she was in Isan, it feels like a girl who was entertaining turning to the bar scene at 29. She has more than likely been there before. What are your thoughts? Anyway, I'll never get the truth out of her if that's the case. To my knowledge, Patty is honest with me. She informs me that when men hit on her, which happens on a daily basis, I can't count the number of times we will be on the phone and a foreigner will ask her to get a drink. She always respectfully declines, but I worry how long this will last. I even attempted to break it off with her, as there is no point putting each other's lives on hold for an unlikely successful relationship. Now, to be honest, I still feel that way, but Patty has convinced me to go with the wind for the moment. After the relationship seemed to be going in the right direction, hidden landmines kept popping up. More recently, we were talking about exercise and how she would like to start working out because I always tell her how much better she will feel. She seems to be excited about the idea, but expresses she needs gym shoes and gym clothes before she can start. And as expected, she doesn't have the money and claims that she will not exercise without them. Now, from my perspective, the way she said it felt like an ultimatum. To end the call, I told her that something she said crossed a boundary of mine. I stopped the conversation to see if she would connect the dots. The next day we spoke, and she was still confused about what my problem was. So I had to explain to her that what she said came off like she won't do something I would like her to do unless she gets something out of it. I told her that if she is really dedicated to exercising, go in your room. You could do it barefoot and butt naked. Now this was a small issue that I may have overreacted to, but I'm still on alert based on what I've experienced and watched on your channel. Now after all was said and done, I ended up buying her the shoes. This debacle turned into a much larger problem than it had to. As I understand it, this is not uncommon with Thai ladies. After a few days we were talking and she brought up that she is concerned about her acne. I mentioned that I had acne in my teens and was able to permanently clear the acne with some medication. Patty was obviously interested and suggested she would seek medical attention the next day. After the doctor's consultation, the doctor quoted her 15,000 baht, which was significantly more than what I remember paying. Patty tells me that the treatment includes oral medication, facial scrub appointments, and laser treatment for the scars. I felt roped in, though I now realise I could have said no and ended up agreeing to help her out. The next day, I thought about the situation at hand and came to my senses that a habit was starting to form. When she has a problem with money, she turns to me to fix it.
Are you stupid or something?
So far, the issues haven't been too extreme, but it's still concerning. After having this realization, I began writing a large text to her, stating that the relationship was becoming transactional and moving in the wrong direction. I had decided to break it off with her, but she called me midway through before I could send the message. Now over a video call, I told her everything that was on my mind, and she said that she understood. I'll be damned if Thai girls don't have a way with keeping men. But I was back, baby. Aside from the money, there were a couple of other small issues. As previously stated, Patty can easily find a man on any given day. And one night, Patty decides to go out with her girlfriends. This was no problem, as she would typically call me a couple of times throughout the night and then call me when she got home. I appreciated this, as it gave me a peace of mind that nothing nefarious was going on. I'm also aware of the dreaded Thai boyfriend, but the amount of time we talked each day, which is usually first thing in the morning and 12 to 2 a.m. Thai time, I feel comfortable that this is not the case. Anyway, on this specific evening, Patty said she would call me later that night, which she did not. I sent her one message early in the evening which went unread until 11 a.m. Thai time the next day. Now, I'm no fool and know that all women around the world keep their phones glued to their hands. Also, when she called me the next morning, the first thing she said, without me asking, was that she spent the night at her friend's apartment. Maybe this is my paranoia, but I think someone who feels the need to defend where they stayed last night may be hiding something. She claimed that she got really drunk and needed to be taken care of. I confronted her and told her what I thought. I asked what she would think if I went out partying, ignored her, and could not respond until late the next day. I also reminded her that this is exactly how our first date went, and I had some suspicions. Now, I am not a ladies' man, but I have been in enough relationships to know that small changes in behaviour usually speaks volumes. I don't want to come off as controlling as we are not in an official relationship, but I am nearing my limit with her. The night out happened on a Monday and now to Saturday. While Patty is working, we are enjoying a video call. During our call, she puts me on hold to take another call. She proceeds to tell me that the other call was a Thai man that she had given her number to. She claims that she gave it to him so they can communicate over a large bank transfer. When the Thai man came into the bank earlier that day, he allegedly offered 10,000 baht for her to meet his client, a new foreign bar owner. The reason for the call was to increase the offer to 20,000 baht. She said that she declined the offer. Nothing suspicious yet, as I'm thinking she would have kept the secret if she was interested in taking the offer. Anyway, I decided to play with this information to probe more details out of her. I tell her that if she wants to go, she can go. Now, after the fact, she claims she was joking, but I have my doubts. But she answered me with, okay, maybe I will go. Then the Thai man calls back and she says he wanted to confirm. So I tell her, he would only be calling to confirm if you said yes, or at least a maybe, to the first phone call inquiry. I know that her English is a work in progress, and she said she did not mean to say confirm, but rather ask again. I then ask her why is she giving her number to a man that wants to sell her body to a client of his. Why didn't you give the Thai man your work line for business matters? I didn't really get an answer, and at this point in the relationship, I am not angry. I've always said that love takes years, and that I would move slowly in this relationship. I would not marry a woman until 5 years of knowing her, and would not marry into a long-distance relationship. For me, the relationship is not defined as it has only been 2 months. For her, she has always expressed that I am her boyfriend and she wants to marry me. I proceed to tell her that she should do what she wants and to not let a foreigner across the globe hold her back. I tell her it's her decision to do what makes her happy, and if she wants to go, she should go. If the answer is yes, then we should not be in any kind of relationship. If she wants to go and chooses not to, we should not be in a relationship. I ask how can someone who would entertain this idea feel that they are ready for marriage? I really wanted her to think about this and ended the call to go to sleep. Now, the next morning for me, 10:45 p.m. Thai time, Patty wants me to call her when I wake up. I called her 5 minutes later, but she did not answer. She didn't call me back until 2 a.m. My first thought is, of course, she went to the bar to meet the Thai man's client. I don't know how else to explain it. Patty said she went to sleep after she sent me the message, thinking that I would not wake up until 2 a.m. Thai time due to not having work the following day. I would like your thoughts if I am overthinking this. Now, after about a week or so, we no longer talk about it, though I haven't forgotten, and we continue as we have been in the past. During our next call, Patty is exercising in her apartment and lets me know how hot her room is. I suggest that she look into getting a portable air conditioner, and she thinks it is a good idea and later goes to the store to inquire. On our next call, she provides me some quotes, which are all in the excess of 20,000 baht. I suggest that she look online because my research shows that cheaper units can be had for half the price. Now, for some reason, this makes her angry and she turns into a completely different person. She did not ask me to pay for it, but I think she was upset that I did not offer to foot the bill. In all honesty, I might have paid for a cheaper unit, but that bridge was burned with her reaction. The conversation ends with her hanging up on me. Not longer after she attempts to call me a number of times, but I do not answer and message her back that I need time to think and we can talk the next day. So, the following day, she apologizes for her behavior again, and I accept her apology on the condition that she does not act like that towards me again, especially if I say no to her requests. She agrees, and we move on. Now, following this ordeal, another interesting situation presents itself. No more than a week later, Patty tells me that her family members who live in Pattaya are planning to travel home to Isan and she wants to join them. She cautiously asks me for help, but this time she insists that she will pay me back. I agreed and sent her 9,000 baht. The following day, we did a video call and she is still in Pattaya. I ask her why, and she claims that her family member has a husband that is a 70-year-old alcoholic who fell down and he got injured. The family cannot go and the trip to Isan is off. After hearing this, and for the 100th time in 2 months, I am skeptical. She offered to pay me back, but I told her to hold on to the money and she can pay me back when she gets her annual bonus at the end of the month. I said this to her but was not planning on asking her for the money back. A few days later, and the day she is expected to receive her bonus, Patty shows me some of the new things that she has bought. She bought clothes, shoes, and some earrings. She also tells me that she is jealous of all these girls cashing in on Falang checks, hinting that this is what she would like our relationship to look like. I don't comment, and the conversation moves in a different direction. Patty informs me that she needs to have more laser treatment for her acne scars, and it is going to cost 4,000 baht. I responded that I think her face looks great now, which it did, and she did not need to spend the money on more treatment. Patty then got upset, accusing me that I'm only saying this because I don't want to pay for it, and insisting that she was going to pay for it herself. I was telling Patty the truth, that her skin looked great, but she wasn't entirely wrong. In any case, I tried to steer the conversation to how she is spending her money in general. I told her that I would prefer that she save her money for things she needs rather than things she wants. I told her if it was me, I would have used the bonus and Isan money to buy the aircon. I told her that if she saved the money for the aircon, I would have split the cost of the AC unit with her, and if she returned the clothes, I would be willing to do that. I guess me telling her what to do with her money peed her off. Patty then disrespectfully asks me to buy her the aircon. As I'm looking at her in total disbelief, and before I can even answer, she hangs up the phone on me. And this was the last time I spoke with Patty. Shortly after, I sent her a long message explaining to her that I am looking for a woman that loves me without any strings attached. Good luck in Thailand, pal. I encourage her to ask the sponsored girls if they would still love the men without the sponsorship. She has told me the amounts of money these other women get from their sponsors, and I've at least matched that amount, if not exceeded it. It feels like the times I've helped her out over the last 2 months meant absolutely nothing to her, and these fights over money are getting exhausting. I tell her I can't do this anymore, and I do not want to continue with this relationship. It seemed like she was a little miffed at me, accusing her of thinking of me as a sponsor rather than a boyfriend, and she agreed to end the relationship. And that was that. In conclusion, I do not know what is true and what is not true. I do not know if she ever felt anything for me or if I was just a prospect for a sponsorship. At this point, it doesn't even matter. Trust is not built overnight and certainly can't be built through a few hours of daily video calls. The relationship was doomed to fail, as all long-distance relationships always are. I'm curious if you agree with my skepticism or if I'm just paranoid from all the content I watched before my Thailand holiday. I am not sure if the games extend past the bar scene to regular working girls. I suspect they do. To be honest, if none of these problems ever came up, I probably would have been open to staying with this girl for the long term and even started a family with her, either in Thailand or back in the States. Maybe this is just what poor women from Isan do to get by, but if by chance she was genuine, she would have played her cards right. I want the viewers to take note of the beginning of my story as a single man and compare it to the end of my story where I am not a happy man. Just do not give your number to these girls, have your fun and leave it at that. For me, and I expect many of your viewers, you can literally be living through these red flags, acknowledge them and deny them all at the same time. Trust your gut and save yourself the heartache. I hope my story finds its way to your YouTube channel and I hope you enjoyed the story. Kind regards, unwitting tourist. Right guys, this was a very long story, so I'm going to keep my opinions brief. And if you have your own opinions on this story, there's a lot to unpack with it. Please put it down below in the comments. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're dating a bar girl or a normal Thai girl that has a normal job. There's a reason for why these girls are interested in foreigners, and especially foreigners that do not even live here. Yeah, if you state that you're her boyfriend, then you are expected to financially take care of her and look after her. And because she is in a place like Pattaya, all she sees are men with Thai women that are constantly giving them money, giving them gifts, taking them on holiday, taking them back to their own home countries, buying them houses, buying them cars, and giving them the life that they want. So she wants that from you. Yes, more than likely, the things that she was saying to you in regards to other men offering her money and wanting to be with her was to make you jealous and make you to commit to money. If you paid her, she'd have no reason to work in a bar. She'd have no reason to speak to guys. She wanted a monthly salary out of you. She wanted you to commit financially, but she couldn't ask you because of what you kept on saying and how much you got on a case about money. And she was getting annoyed with it, to be honest. And she finally got super annoyed where she thought, I've wasted all this time and this guy isn't paying out. What is the point of me being with this foreigner when there's so many other guys to choose from? And more than likely, right now, right this second, she is milking another guy. And I could literally almost guarantee that. If you're not going to financially take care of these women, then yeah, they're not going to stay faithful and they're always going to look for an upgrade, a guy that is willing to pay. And believe me, there are so many guys that come here that are more than willing to pay a beautiful Thai woman. Now, if you've got your own story and you want to share it on the channel, then please take the time out and send me an email to thaitalkwithdan@gmail.com. Take it easy, guys. Look after yourselves. Like I always say, keep your money in your pocket, but some guys are not listening. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.